Check. Okay. Gotta check. Sound check. Still nothing. Mic is on. Mixer is on. Got it? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I'm still trying to get my studio and everything set up. How are you guys doing today? And tell me too, how's the lag in the audio versus video? Hey, Dennis from Duluth. Thanks, Nelson. I appreciate it. Well, I'm doing good. Just got moved into my new house, and thank you guys for being so patient. It's been a long journey for me for the last couple of months. I went through a divorce and the process of selling my house and all that kind of stuff and finding a new house and but it's all good. It was amiable, and so as far as those kind of things go, it's okay. But I really appreciate your guys' patience, and thanks for coming by to support the channel. I'm trying to get ramped up to do more videos. I was doing some tests this morning with the new log profile. I'm going to do a video on that pretty soon. I'm trying to head out today. It's the first warm day we've had in about 2 weeks. So anyway, let me look and see if there's any questions. Fernando asks, do you use the Lychee app? No, I don't. I just stick with DJI's app because it seems to work really well for me, and so I just stick with that. Let's see. ET drone, yeah, locked in at 500 ISO. I'm not 100% sure why they've decided to do that, but I'm gonna do some tests today. I flew around inside just to see what it looked like, and it does look like there's a little bit more noise to me, but we'll see how it goes. I want to do some tests and see if that dynamic range is actually extended, because I've been hearing reports that it's really not any different than Cine D, but we'll check it out and see. Hello from Israel. Isle, I'm sure I don't know how to pronounce your name. Isle Burger. Let's see. I have a question for you. Holland. Let's see. This is Wouter Sinke. I have a question for you from Holland. Very windy. I have trouble flying in a straight line. For example, a road. I always drift to the left. P4 Pro. Yeah, you know what? I usually try to shoot in the mornings or afternoons or into the evenings. That's usually when the wind is best. Alan, yeah, Alan, it is cheaper to keep her. Believe me, man. Let's see. Bobster, hey Bobster. Yeah, I'm hoping it does create shadow detail. All right, Kevin, thanks for stopping by. Peter says they claim that the dynamic range is 0.5 EV better at ISO 500 D-Log. Yeah, I read that too, but I'm interested to tell. I did some tests in my living room actually of the couch and everything, but purposefully used the window to blow out that part of the shot. So I want to see if D-Log actually retains any detail inside of that blown out area versus Cine-like. So we'll see. Let's see, what do we got here? XY Boxo? XYBOOX, big fan from Romania. Hey, thanks for coming by. Yep, ND32 could come in handy shooting D-Log. Let's see. RPV PHLEE says my P4P all of a sudden drops GPS and goes into ADI mode repeatedly. Man, I try to check your firmware and do a fresh install of the DJI Go 4 app. I had to do that myself. Mine was disconnecting after the last firmware upgrade. RMS Video says we appreciate your knowledge. I appreciate you guys. I wouldn't be anything without you guys. Yeah, anybody else comment on RPV PHLEE? He's having some issues there with disconnecting GPS and going into ADI mode by itself. E.T. Joe Home wants to know what's the agenda for your channel once you get settled in. I am settled in, and basically I wanted to do this live stream today and just kind of launch getting back into things, because man, it's been over a month since I posted a video with moving and packing and all the nightmare that goes on with that. But the weather's getting better, and I wanted to start ramping up and doing some more videos, and I thought it would be a good idea to ask you guys, what do you want to know about? What are you interested in? Because without you guys, like I said, this channel wouldn't exist. It wouldn't matter. Let's see, getting some more questions here. Let me check real quick. Sorry, this keeps jumping around. Bear with me for a second. Hey, Joseph from Toronto. Thanks for coming by. Nelson wants to know, do you think that 1080p is good enough when sending files to clients, or should I export in higher resolution? It's kind of a trick question, because if it's not shot in, say, 4K, up-resing a 1080 file to 4K is not going to really give you anything more. It's the same difference as taking a Photoshop image, let's say, that's 6 inches, and Photoshop re-resing it to 12. It's going to lose a lot of detail. But 1080 is absolutely perfectly acceptable. I still, to this day, deliver television spots and cinema spots at work to broadcast stations in 1080 as Apple ProRes 422 HQ files, but they are in 1080, they're not in 4K. So yeah, 1080 is still a player, definitely. Armin's video asks, have you had much experience with oh, he's answering another question, contacting airports. I know I haven't had much experience with contacting airports. I haven't had the need to. I kind of stay away from them. Let's see. Alan says, I'm doing my first real estate video. What's a good beginner software to use for my PC for post-production? You know, you could try DaVinci Lite. I think that's free. You can actually get that free. But there's a lot of great stuff there. Like, and others can chime in here. Sony Vegas, I know, is a really great app. As I know a lot of you complain, and I totally get it. The Premiere Pro, that package is pricey. You know, a monthly subscription kind of thing. I'm just lucky because I do this for a living, and so I can write it off, and the company I work for pays for a lot of that stuff for me. So, okay. E.T. Drone Home says, I'd love to hear about pre-production techniques within regards techniques in regards to setting up a shot for drone aerials, framing, how to find ways to move around terrain in a cinematic way. Okay, maybe I'll do a tutorial on that in the future. The best thing right out of the gate is slow. I mean, super, super slow. The drone can fly fast, but that to me is kind of you know, it's kind of a cool thing. But super slow shots. You know, if you're painting across something or doing a point of interest shot where you're rotating around something, if you think you're going slow enough, slow it down to half the speed it visually looks like you're going on screen, and that'll probably be a much smoother, much more pretty dynamic shot. Samuel, direct from Brazil. Thank you. And you're welcome for the lessons. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, RPV says, Frederick, have you had experience with DJI Care? What's the turnaround on repair time? I have had experience with DJI and returning things, and it hasn't been great. I have to say that they've really upped their game, and they do a much better job of expediting the process. But it was kind of a nightmare for me when I had to. One of my copters fell out of the sky, had an IMU or compass fatal error, and they got it back to me in a couple of weeks, but then it had another problem because it hadn't been tested, I guess, and I had sent it back, and so it was about 3 months total before I was back in the air. So hopefully, like anything, growing pains, they'll get better. But just if you've got to send it in, be patient, and know that it's not going to be a super fast thing, but know that they're trying. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. Film is better than Sony Vegas. All right. Nexus TM1 says, "Hi Frederick, just a question about my Phantom 4 Pro. Which tablet do you recommend using with remote control? I'm looking for a tablet with more brightness, as usual tablets." The tablet that I use is, I got a refurbished iPad 2 mini from Apple's website, and I don't have any complaints with it. I bought a glare shield to put on it so it's not so shiny, and that helps a lot. And I made a sun shield out of just some foam core that I put together with some tape that fits nicely, and that works great for me. So, James from Moscow. Hello, James. Thanks for coming by. Let's see. Well, I'm sitting here thinking, have you guys tested the new D-Log settings? They're supposed to have been tweaked to be better. The one that's locked in now at 500 ISO. I'd like to hear what you guys think about that. Because, like I said, my initial tests, I don't see a ton of benefit yet. I'll reserve final judgment until I can really get out and test today. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what it looks like, when I get out and really put it through the paces. But hey, Mark, good to see you, man. Next is TM1 from Romania. You're welcome. No, I don't use Litchi, Michael. or Litchi. I'm not exactly sure how you say that. I use the DJI Go 4 app simply because it works really well. I've never had issues where it made me want to go, I think I'm going to try something else, so I stick with that. Hey, Ron from Indianapolis. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming by. And so while we're scrolling through these and waiting for your guys' questions, the videos that I'm thinking about doing coming up, definitely taking a look at the new D-Log profile, because that's they've really been working hard to try to get that to be usable. As you guys know, the first release of the Phantom 4 Pro, the D-Log stuff was so flat and so muddy. It just wasn't usable, wasn't friendly at all, and not flat in a good way. Flat footage is fantastic to work with. That gives you plenty of wiggle room in post, so you don't have blown out highlights or crushed blacks. But it was just really super duper muddy and hard to work with. So hopefully they're getting that back to a usable state. But the bottom line is with D-Log is usually shot on high-end cameras, and the reason D-Log can be shot and called D-Log is because of the sensor, and the camera itself. So firmware updates can't make something D-Log, and DJI is trying to replicate that, and I don't mean fake it, but I mean replicate it. So I say that because we have to have kind of an understanding that we'll never get D-Log, true D-Log, like on higher end cameras, like Red Epic cameras or Aries, things like that. But that's one of the videos I'm thinking about doing. Another video I think I'd like to do is to talk about the workflow of a basic project from beginning to end. How to start a project in Premiere Pro, at least, how to organize it, set it up. I think another video that might be fun to do, a lot of people have asked, and that's to show how to do cinematic techniques. How to get to fly the copter, the correct ways to fly the copter, so you'll get the kind of looks that you see in the movies when you go to the movies. Because you can do it with the Phantom 4 Pro. Absolutely, you can do it with the Mavic. Let's see. AT drone controlling exposure and shutter speed on bright days is going to be interesting. Yeah, it is. By the way, I've got all three of the DJI ND filters, the ND4, the ND8, and the ND16, and I really like them. However, be careful, because the glass that's set inside the ring that screws onto the camera, it's really the adhesive or whatever they use. I've pushed my ND4 glass out of the rim of this thing and had to spot glue it in with super glue, so be very careful pushing those out of that little foam compartment they come in. But that said, they are really nice ND filters. I really like them, and I love the fact that they're exactly the same as the UV that comes with the camera, so there's no difference in weight or anything like that, and they screw right on. All right. Sam Osbatur. Hi from Istanbul. Hi from Istanbul. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by. Valentine, hello. Can you tell us about ZimUse ×5 best settings for your videos? I don't have the ZimUse camera. I'm sticking with the Phantom 4 Pro right now, but a lot of the same theories and settings that I use are the same. Never over sharpen things. Shoot with a little flatter profile. Turn your contrast down so you don't run the risk of blowing out your highlights or crushing your blacks. Those basic rules apply for all cameras. Yep, new firmware has autofocus. Yep. I switch. Let's see, Michael says I switch only because I lose video signal on the DJI Go app. Michael, that's interesting, because I've been running across the same thing, especially this morning. I switched my cable, my lightning cable that goes from the RC to the iPad, and all of a sudden it worked. So I hope that's not an issue with the app itself, because I actually reloaded the app from scratch, deleted it and reloaded it because I couldn't get it to connect. Or it would connect and I'd pick the controller up and it would disconnect. I thought it was the cable, but I hope that's not an issue with the app. Is anyone else having problems with their quad disconnecting from the app? Sound off here and let everybody know. Edward from the UK. Hello, Edward. You haven't missed too much. We've only been running for about 18 minutes. Fire away with any questions, Edward. Thanks for coming by. All right, well, hi Frederick, this is William from Brazil. Big fan of your videos. I was wondering if you could explain how to get rid of the pixelated look from my videos after post-production. Pixelated look. You'll have to go into a little bit more detail. It may be because of your encoding, if it's macro blocking, and you're getting like that deterioration. That's usually because you're not rendering the video out at a high enough bit rate. I render all my videos out at 50 megabits per second. Check your settings. Sometimes by default that's down on like 5 or 8 megabits per second. That'll cause that kind of artifacting and maybe the pixelating that you're talking about. So check that. Augusta says, should know to use ND8 filter or ND16 filter for clear sunny skies. It depends, Augusta, and you'll have to look at your exposure meter in the center. If it's plus or minus, that'll tell you if you need to go darker or lighter with your ND filter. But in full-on sun, I use both. It just depends on the area and the situation. ND8 and ND16 both are usable in full-on sun, and especially the ND16 if you're shooting in wintry, snowy conditions. It's so bright, you really need that extra darkness to dampen the image a little bit. And RPV says, can they penalize both the pilot and the realtor for real estate videos that were made without having an FAA Part 17 release? To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but to my knowledge, the fault will come down to the pilot. A real estate person hiring you is assuming that you've got all your ducks in a row. And so they can't be held liable for something that you are responsible for as a pilot. That's my understanding, and others can chime in here if I've got that wrong. No, I've not tried the Polar Pro Shutter series or Cinema series yet. I'm not big on polarizers for a quadcopter because the nature of how polarizers work, they're only active in a specific direction from the sun, and I can get those kind of more vivid results in post, but it's the ND filters that are imperative. You've got to have an ND filter if you want to film stuff that looks more cinematic and professional. Let's see. For cinematic colors, if I'm using physical filter ND, do I need to use digital filters as well? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but a digital filter, meaning in the app, you know, an effect that you're placing on it, I do often. I often have to do some kind of color correction or something like that. But the ND filter's purpose is to get your shutter speed down to a manageable level so you don't have that real stair-steppy, sketchy motion. You know, it's to create natural motion blur. I've got a couple of videos on that if you want to look it up in the video list on my YouTube channel. I hope that answers the question. Let's see, Jonathan Scruggs says, have you had issues with the DJI Go app accessing the internet? I know it's not necessary to fly, but it's handy to sync your flight logs of the account. It seems to be a bug within the app. You know, I haven't noticed that. To be honest, I don't think I've ever tried to sync my flight log or anything while I was out in the field. I do have an iPad that is cellular, so I don't. The only thing that's good for is letting me know if my firmware is, you know, up to date out in the field. But I've not noticed that. Maybe others can chime in on that. Let's see. Nelson says, just for the records, guys, P4 Pro Plus bright screen is useless when shooting flat. I had to put a screen hood on because the max brightness still couldn't see the clear image. Yeah, that's a good point, Nelson, because when you shoot flat, unfortunately, unlike professional video relay systems, you know, Hollywood relay systems, where they actually transcode and put a LUT on the footage as you're seeing it from the monitor, so it's kind of more correct in what it's going to look like final. On our iPhones and mobile devices, the footage looks really flat, and it is kind of difficult to see. Don, just wanted to say thank you, Frederick. Love your videos and live streams. I'm a big fan. Thanks, Don. I really appreciate your support. The Apple DJI app is much cleaner than the Android app. Okay. Would be nice if you could try the new D-Log on the Mavic too. Okay, yeah. I'm heading out to meet a friend hopefully today, the guy that I've done videos with, Brad, who's got a Mavic. H.G. says, my app crashes in flight with a new firmware. Man, I hope that doesn't happen to me. I haven't had, like I said, the weather's been terrible here. For like 3 weeks, it's been 20 degrees every day. Edward's asking, I'm still seeing quite a few videos from people having issues with the P4P footage. How have things been panning out with you? My footage, the problem that I reported early on with that pulsing flicker, it's still there. You know, it's still there. It's frustrating, but it's not as prevalent as it had been in the past. So that's the only issue that I still see, and unfortunately, you know, it's still there. And DJI has never gotten back to me on it. Hey Dan D, great to see you too, man. Michael's asking about the 107 test. Is it hard or crazy? The 107 test, I know 4 or 5 people now that have passed that test or taken the test and passed it, and all of them say you need to study. All of them were very confident. Took about a month, 5 weeks to study for the test, and went in very confident, ready to knock this thing out of the park. And half of those guys passed by just barely. You know, so they've all said they're not messing around. It's a good test, and you really need to study and be prepared for it. So yeah, it's not something that you can kind of go over some notes for a week and go in there, head in, and take the test based off of the knowledge you have already. You have to know quite a bit, and it is a little challenging. Let's see. Pilot only. I see. Patrick from Sweden just dropped in. Hey, Patrick, thanks for stopping by, man. Dan's commenting, responsibility falls upon the PAC pilot in command of the flight operations. Yeah. Polar Pro Series have been working great. I have both. Not been seeing any polarizing issues that we've seen in the past. Cool. Edward Felton, can you talk to us about the music you compose for your videos? Yeah, I use Logic Pro 10. I love that software. It's a great DAW. Really enjoy working with it. But I compose everything in Logic Pro. I don't know if that would be a video I would do maybe sometime in the future, because it is so very different from drone flights and filming and footage using aerial footage using drones. But I've been a musician, for 35 years, something like that, and I switched over about 10 years ago to composing commercially. It was a natural switch because I was a musician anyway, and I switched over to do natural composing, and now I'm very lucky because in addition to filming and editing for a living, I also do sound design and music composition, so it's a lot of fun. DJ, I heard DJI was going to give an option to apply live playback LUT independent of the record. That's good to know, independent of the recording profile. That would be cool. Dan's commenting on the test there. If you guys see, if you're prepared, it won't be crazy hard, but preparation is the key to everything. Yep. James Ford wants to know there is a big difference between video quality in the Mavic and the Phantom 4 Pro. Yes, James, there is. Is it a significant enough difference to where you should definitely just buy the Phantom 4 Pro? No, because the Mavic is, the portability of the Mavic cannot be beat. I mean, that thing is crazy small, and it shoots 4K video. I mean, it shoots great video. I think the folks that can tell the difference are people that are getting into editing and videography, and after a year or so of editing and looking at footage and tweaking and learning about color, that's when you start to see the differences in the expanded dynamic range and quality of the Phantom 4 Pro versus the Mavic. But yeah, it is a better camera and it does shoot better footage. But to most people, looking at the Mavic footage versus the Phantom footage, they're not going to notice a huge difference. It's not like you're going to shoot video with your Mavic and people are going to go, this footage looks funny. No, not at all. Either one work wonderfully. Trailer home video. Any explanation for the piece of Crystal Sky monitors from DJI? No, the price. No, I don't know anything about that. Maybe somebody can help out there. Mark says, have you flown off a cliff at negative altitudes from takeoff? Is there a way to compensate for this? Yeah, I have. I was in Connecticut and I flew off of a cliff on Block Island. At negative altitudes from your takeoff position, is there a way to compensate for this? I didn't have any issues, Mark. I'm not sure if I understand what you're asking, but I had no issues at all. I flew right off and I didn't lose altitude or anything like that. Nothing crazy happened. ET drone passed with an 85, and you need to be able to read MEATRs and aeronautical charts, understand weather patterns, clouds types, airspace classifications, and the restrictions, etc. Yeah. Let's see. My TC84. Do you have any videos showing how to use the DJI Go app to change the f-stop, ISO, etc.? I would love to see the steps to get best settings when you're in the field. I've got a couple of apps. I don't know if they're specific as focused on the app, but check out best camera settings. That might at least get your feet wet, get you started. But perhaps I could do, that's maybe another idea for a video, do another more in-depth app review in the field on how to adjust and watch for overexposure and underexposure and things like that. So using the app a little bit more professionally instead of just for the settings itself, just for the camera. What to watch for when you're filming, what to look out for, how to compensate for that. Maybe that would be more of what you're asking to see. All right. Edward says, have you heard about any similar pulsing issue with other DJI drone, Inspire 2, for example? Yes, Edward, I have. That pulsing issue is present in the Phantom 3 series, Advanced and Professional. It's present in the Mavic, it's present in the Phantom 4 Pro, and it is present in the Inspire 1's base camera. It's something with DJI's encoding. You know, it's how their encoder processes that video. It's, from what I hear, the technical term is an IPB reset frame that happens once a second. But yeah, it's still there. Let's see. Oh, you like the new studio, Mark? Thanks, man. Yeah, it is a little bit brighter. Okay, people are commenting here some good information on taking the test, the 107 test. Ray, yes, I do have the manual setting that I use for D-Cine-like is the subsettings are the sharpness on -1 or -2. Contrast on -3 and saturation on -2. That's what I use. Okay. B Macadelic, hey buddy, great to see you, man. What's your say on the new D-Log ISO 500 lock? Chris, I was talking about that when we first started out, but I did some tests today in my living room. I'm worried about the noise. I still don't understand why they're going to let something's ISO be pushed up to 500. Certain people have commented that it's because it's supposed to extend the dynamic range. I don't understand how that happens. Usually ISO typically doesn't have much to do with the dynamic range. That happens on the sensor. The ISO helps bring in more light for a better exposure. The lower the ISO, the cleaner the image. The higher the ISO, the more noise that's introduced. So I did some tests today. I'm going to head out today later with a friend and go to a park and do some tests with D-Log and see what it's got. Ed checking in from the Netherlands. Love your videos. Learned a lot from your color grade videos. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, ET's saying, okay. Rich Q, hi Fred, can you advise on camera video settings used to capture surfing video using the P4 Pro? It's the same video that's in best camera settings on my channel. There's a whole video on the settings that you should use, and that's for anything. If you're shooting surfing or windmills or lighthouses or anything. Okay, Timothy Pearson says, I've heard people assume that lowering the frame rate will cause the P4P to use 100 megabits max rate output for more information on each frame. I don't think this is completely true. Thoughts? Timothy, there is truth to that. And I'll try to explain this quickly. It's also in one of my videos. If you've got, here's 1 second of time. And if you've got 100 megabits to work with, and you decide to shoot at 24 frames per second, divide 24 into this 100. That's how many megabits each frame will get. If you shoot at 60 frames per second, okay, at 100 megabits, divide 60 into 100 megabits, and you see the amount of bit rate that you have available for each frame in 1 second is much lower. So yes, in theory, shooting at 24 frames per second or 25 for PAL will give you better video quality because each frame in that 1 second is getting more of that 100 megabits processing power. So there is truth to that. For field camera, see, our RMS video says, for field camera settings, I set one of the custom buttons in the controller for quick access without taking my fingers off the stick. Yeah, absolutely. P4P coding issues, similar pulsing. Yeah, I still have issues with the H.265 coding issues. H.265 is just not very friendly on the Phantom 4 Pro right now. I'm hoping they do something, or Adobe comes out with something or updates Premiere Pro that it can handle it better. Because I've used H.265 codec files before, and I can use them in Premiere Pro, but not DJI's 265. I don't know. Yeah. ET Drone wants to know if I've ever considered releasing a few custom LUTs to your loving fans. Yeah, loving fans. Yes, you guys are great. I have, and I do. I thought about it. It's just that it's so subjective. I mean, color grading is all across the board, and there's no magic LUT. You know, I know there's a line of LUTs or color profiles called the magic bullet, you know, that you can buy, but there is no, in quotes, real magic bullet where you just apply a LUT and boom, it's perfect. You always got to tweak it. So that's kind of the reason I haven't already done that, because it'll get you maybe in the ballpark, but I'll think about that the next time I'm working, and perhaps build some LUTs and export those and maybe include them in a link with the maybe the next video. But thanks for the suggestion. That's a great idea. And hopefully too, while I'm thinking real quick, I will hopefully I'm working to try to work on a partnership with a company that has contacted me that I can't say too much more about it, but they make great glass. Okay, they make great optics, and hopefully I'll have some new videos showing some new and updated options for ND filters and polarizing filters if you like polarizing filters. So keep your fingers crossed for that. Should be fun. ET Drone Home says, some of us love your style, so it would be nice to have some starting points inspired by you. Well, I appreciate it. I'll definitely appreciate it. Edward Felton says, my wife has just bought me in a big pie for dinner. I wish I could share it with you. Me too, Edward. Do you use an adjustment layer or trim every cut? Chris, I trim every cut. I use an adjustment layer over top of multiple cuts if they have the same exposure and feel, so I can put one color correction on top of in that one adjustment layer, so it'll affect everything and I don't have to apply the color correction to each and every cut. I hope that answers the question. Big Macadelic says, the funny thing is I can't use LUTs on my drone footage after learning how to use masks 3 ways in RGB curves from Frederick, but no LUT has ever looked as good as custom grading each individual shot. Exactly, BMAC. That's why I don't use LUTs. They get me in the ballpark, and every now and then I use them, but I can get there much faster because I end up having to tweak the heck out of a LUT anyway, and it kind of defeats the purpose. I spend 10 minutes correcting a LUT, so I do it by hand or from scratch. Let's see. I live in Augusta, and I don't mind. I live in Kentucky, and it's just been miserable here. It was nice the day I moved a couple of weeks ago, so I got really lucky. It was sunny and it was about 50 degrees, so it was great. After that, man, it went to heck. Every day has been, around 20 to 30 degrees, 21 degrees at night, snowy, misty, nasty, so I'm excited to get out today and fly. I've been itching to fly my drone since I've moved and got settled. Let's see. Dan D's got a comment there. If anyone would like to see some footage shot with a Polar Pro ND16 on the P4P, I just shot a piece 2 days ago on my page. Yeah, go check out Dan's page. DAM footage? Is that supposed to be Dan footage? Mostly sunny conditions with warm grade. Great, Dan. Thanks for mentioning that. Edward, weather in England also sucks at the moment. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, I'm thinking about it. How's the sound, the lag in this audio and video? I've tweaked some options in my encoder to help with that because I know that's been an issue in the past. I hope it's better. Let's see. Dan D. till Frederick takes over Snake River to get them to release ND filters. We will see. B. Macadelic says, any tricks to ensuring polarized ND filters don't cause diagonal bands in the sky? And it's a crapshoot screwing that thing off, turning that thing on, trying to keep it horizontal. It is, B. Mac. Again, those things, if you're at the exact right, perfect angle and you're not going to move or change, they work pretty well, but there aren't any tricks. And what happens is that polarizing effects tends to oversaturate the color so much you end up getting that banding. It's just like when you jack the contrast up on an image, all of a sudden it starts to reveal a bunch of stuff that you didn't see when the image was flat. And so to me, the polarizer just kind of accentuates that. And so I would, I prefer just to shoot straight, as straight and raw as I can with an ND filter, and then color grade for myself. Mark says, the lag's better, about a quarter of a second. Well, that's better. Much more in sync now. Great. Lag don't matter. We can hear and see you. The smiles. Cool. He's watching Dan's footage. Nice footage. Great, great. All right, let's see. We've been going for about 42 minutes now. In fear of just letting this drag on and boring everyone to tears, I'll probably wrap up fairly soon, unless there are other questions that you guys have that you haven't asked yet, or things you're wondering about or want to know. Ask me anything. I'll be as honest as possible, I promise. But this is great. I really appreciate you guys coming by, because I've really been excited to do this, and I've been itching to get back into things and get life back, just get back to doing normal stuff and fun stuff like this, interacting with you guys. So I really miss it. I really did. All right. Yeah, Dandy, Ed is asking about your channel. Go ahead and post your channel here if you want to. I have no issues with that. Macadelic Superset Polarizing Filters got the green tint. Yes, the color shift is terrible on certain filters. Make them takes a lot of the dynamic range, pushing the codec way too much at that point. Yeah, that's the thing about optics, man. It is so worth spending, say, $50 on a good polarizing filter for your quad versus the $12 ones that are on Amazon or whatever, just because of that glass, which most of the time is plastic. It's all about the glass. That's why I love, and I'm hoping Snake River Prototyping comes out with something soon, because they have killer optics. They have beautiful, professional, gorgeous, professional grade glass, not plastic. It's just, man, their stuff is great. Okay. I hope I get to his. Yes, the DJI NDs, I believe, are glass. I hope I'm not wrong about that. But when I pushed my ND4 out of the ring by accident by pushing it out of the little foam container, it popped it out. So be really careful with that. You've got to be very gentle with that. I had to actually take super glue and put tiny little dots of super glue right around the edge to get my ND4 back in. I hadn't even used it yet either. I was just popping it out of the container to put it on the copter, and it pushed the lens right out, so be careful. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate your support. Ed Fenton, apart from the glass falling out, what are the DJI ND filters like for quality? They are very good. I'm impressed with them. I'll say that. So much so that after I flew a few times with them and did a couple of tests, all the new videos with the Phantom 4 Pro, the later 3 or 4, all use the DJI ND filters, and they're great. The most important thing about an ND filter, other than clarity, is color shift. ND, neutral density, dead in the middle, so it doesn't tint or color cast your image a little green or a little red, dead in the middle, and this glass does a great job of that, I think. I know, ET Drone. I was really nervous about super glue. But, the key is super glue gel, not super glue. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Super glue gel goes on in this perfect little kind of tight dollop instead of touching the glue and it running everywhere underneath the lens. So super glue gel. Thank you for saying something. I'd like to hear more about your audio side of your work. I'm an audio engineer by trade, moving into second camera up and 107 certification pilot. Awesome. Okay. Got it, Mark. Good to know. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you all so much for coming by, and thank you all so much for being patient, while I got stuff together in life and got moved and everything, and I really do appreciate it. I miss this. I miss you guys, and I miss being able to make videos, and I'm excited now that I can kind of get back into it. But just because the stream is closed down doesn't mean you can't ask questions. Please feel free to send questions, and my email is on my YouTube page under every video, and I'm on Facebook, and you can Twitter me, all that stuff. Any way you want, anytime you want it, I'll be happy to help you guys. Thank you so much. You guys are great. I love you guys to death, and have a great day. Bye.